What do you think, and again, it's a different era in the 60s to raise children than now, where I think now in this time and age, everyone embraces their ethnicity, and it's beautiful to be, you know, whatever culture you are, and there's a lot of multicultural going on, especially in New York City, where there's pockets of almost every language and group. What was the biggest challenge in the 60s, being the only foreigner in town besides your sisters, raising 3 children in a culture you didn't totally understand and in a language you didn't understand?
My aim, my husband and I both aimed to raise 3 children that felt comfortable in both culture. And I wanted them to be a survivor in an honorable way in American society. So for that, we taught them the American way of life. But I also picked the good things from my culture.
And what were
America,
those? What were the good things?
To be gracious, to be kind, to be open-minded, to feel comfortable meeting somebody different and accept them for what they are.
But I also feel the Persian culture is very formal. It's more formal than American.
Yes, yes. But I wanted to pick I wanted my children to learn to be able to be casual when they're with Americans and be formal when they're with Iranians, because we have a high respect for other people, who they are and what they are. So they needed to respect that.
Right.
We don't tell elderly, hey, you, how are you?
Well, I think a lot of kids today, they call the parents of their friends by their first name, and I know growing up, I don't know if it was just my generation or my upbringing, but I would have never called any of my friends by my friends' parents by their first name, ever. And I think really to this day, I don't call any of them by their first name. I still call them Mr. or Mrs.
In my culture, it's called respect. And I'm glad it has worked, because you're practicing what I taught you.
You returned home to Iran in 1977, so you've gone back one time. Can you tell me how, and that was before the revolution that everybody knows in 1979, but how did that trip happen? How did you plan on going there? Who did you go with, and what was it like returning after being in America for so long?
Well, my trip was a surprise. My husband gave me that ticket to go because he knew I was homesick. So when I went to Iran, my family welcomed me with open arms.
And did you see your classmates that you grew up with and all the places? Do they think at that time, after being in the United States for, I don't know, 20 years, did they think you were American now, or did they think you talked funny or acted different, or?
Well, my speed of thinking had slowed down by then because I had been here so many years. So I had to listen a lot. I loved walking down the street listening to people until I picked up the vocabulary and speed again. And I went to see some of the old friends, and some heard through the grapevine that I was there. They came to see me.
And do you think in 77, so it's, again, you know, I think the tensions are rising in Iran. I mean, America, I don't think we knew what was happening until it actually happened. But so 77, did you feel the change, the political climate change? Were people afraid of a revolution coming, or did they feel a revolution?
Well, I could feel the tension, but of course they knew something we didn't know. Muslim religion puts women on the pedestal. It does not discriminate women. We're not second class in that religion. We're the one that rocks the cradle. That's the reason when I experienced all the experience that I gained through stumbling and learning and making mistakes and lack of guidance, and when I learned all these things, I thought, this cannot be wasted. I have to empower women so they can be helping others.
So through that feeling of wanting to help women and empower women, tell me about the International Ladies Club how did that come about, and just tell me how that came about and what it is.
By the time I raised my children, I drove to California to deliver a car to my oldest son, and driving through the desert, I had a lot of flashbacks, thinking what I have learned, what I will tolerate, what I will not tolerate, and what is important to me. And I really came to terms with myself that I wanted to empower women in any way I could. So I came back and started the International Club and picked a handful of ladies that I thought they were noble to work with.
Were they all international? Were they all in Richmond, Indiana?
They were all in Richmond, Indiana.
So from the time that you came, being the only foreigner, more came after you?
Right,
in the 50s?
years later, years later. And these foreign ladies were either physician wives or professionals or were CEOs' wives. And they knew the business, but they didn't know the culture. And I could relate to not knowing the culture. So I thought the least I can do is to teach them the culture.
What's one of your favorite mottos?
Life is a gift.
Yeah.
Live it to the best. Don't waste time. Do as much as you can. Contribute as much as you can. And leave the rest to God.
What do you think is the American dream? What do you perceive as the American dream?
To reach your potential, your dream, realize it, own a home, have a secure place, have a freedom.
Do you think you've reached your American dream?
If my work is any indication of I have reached it or not, look at my children. Yes, I have.